The family unit is often seen as the cornerstone of a community. But what happens when that unit is fractured? In this book titled Tamanna for Change, it explores the experiences of children who've lost their parents and how that loss has impacted their development and their community. To unpack this narrative, tell us more about the author, and he joins us now in studio, and we have Siyabulela Mokebe. Siyabulela, yes. Very good morning. Thanks for joining us. Welcome.
Thanks. Morning to you and morning to the viewers.
It's an absolute pleasure having you. Such a beautiful and well-written book. And you penned it, Tamanna for Change. What's the message behind your book?
All right, so basically my book is about how I had to struggle after losing my mom. And then I lost my mom in 2008, and then my dad in 2009. And then afterwards, we had to survive in a child-headed family. So I'm basically narrating about that and how I ended up having to enroll in an institution like University of the Witwatersrand. And yeah.
So how did that change your life? I mean, who was taking care of you as you were in a child-headed family?
All right. So there's a teacher of mine at Minerva High School, so Mrs. Linda Mutle. So she basically took care of us. So it was me and my brother. So we five, right? Sure. So my three siblings were being taken care of by our aunt, and then my brother and I used to stay together. So our teacher used to take care of us. So she bought us clothes, she bought us food, and she did everything for us. Yeah, and also the neighbors, by the way, because I grew up at Alex. So so around, the neighbors would also come and give us food from time to time. So yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's a fact that children living in child-headed families, face great difficulties in terms of getting the basic necessities, in terms of getting shelter, food, school uniform, education. Yeah. So how did you address those needs or the lack of certain things?
All right. So I don't want to come here and claim that I was always motivated and all that, because after losing my parents, it was difficult for us to even, focus at school. Because I remember there were times where my brother even wanted to drop out of school because of the situation that we faced at home. Yeah. And growing up in a child family, you find yourself being exploited by people. And then you find yourself having to experience a lot of abuse and a lot of stigmatization from the community, because obviously everyone is looking at you and they are feeling pity for you, and it seems as though the only thing you can give people is just that pity. So the only thing that motivated me in those times was Mrs. Mutle, because at school, I knew, for example, because she was a teacher there in my school, so I knew that I cannot just bunk classes, for example, because my teachers would go and tell her. So she was basically my mom there. So she's the main reason why I actually ended up having to even become the top student in my school, because of her support.
Now, Siyabulela, you may have got all the basics like shelter, clothing, food. But what are some of the most important, such as love and protection and guidance? Did you get a sense that you were receiving all that, and from whom?
All right. So I think I got a sense of belonging and love and all of that from my friends, because having lost my parents, and I didn't have much of a relationship with my relatives. Okay. So I was much more closer to my friends. And my friends were my pillar of strength. And then so when things got tough, and I was friends with people who come from similar circumstances as mine, so we were able to support each other from time to time. And so that on its own, it made things easier for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know that some children resort to, quick means of making a quick buck just to provide for their siblings. Yeah. So were you not tempted at some point to provide for siblings through the not so legal ways?
Okay, I wasn't. Fortunately enough, the guys from my community, right? So they saw me as someone who was bright at school, and then from time to time they would motivate me not to leave school, and they'll tell me not to involve myself in some of the things they were doing. So in a sense, I didn't have space to find myself doing crime and all sorts of things, because people around me actually made sure that I don't find myself in such situations. Yeah.
You know, as a parentless child,
Sure.
it takes a great deal of mourning, you know, just mourning your parents, mourning your loss. So did you get some sort of guidance on how to do that and just to find closure?
Okay. I don't think I found enough time to grieve, right? I don't think I found enough time to deal with the pain. And as a result, I found myself having to resort to substance abuse because, yeah.
How old were you, by the way?
I was 12 when I lost my mom and then 13 when I lost my dad.
Sure.
So, yeah. So and at that time, I was already into alcohol. So after the death of my parents, I just drowned deep into it.
Was it peer pressure or was it just a way of mourning or drowning your sorrows?
I think it was peer pressure in a sense because, like I said, that I found love and comfort from my friends.
From your friends,
and
yeah.
because I wanted to belong into something, and I found myself around people who were doing this thing, and I was friends with people who were much more older than me. So I found myself having to drink when they were drinking and having to do all sorts of things with them. So yeah, in a sense, I can say it was peer pressure. Yeah.
But I suppose, man, you managed to fight those demons, to fight those ills. I mean, look at you today. You've made it in life and, you've conquered everything. So what gave you the motivation? And what is it that you want the readers to take away from reading this book?
All right. So what gave me the motivation was the fact that I actually wanted people to know that even if you can face the most hardest hardships in life, you can still triumph, right?
Oh, yes.
So the fact that I was an orphan at high school, and even in those circumstances, I ended up finding myself being a top student at high school, and then at university, I ended up getting my degree with a cum laude. So now I'm an educator, I'm a medicine science teacher, and with all of that, see, I was actually doing it because I wanted my brothers to know that even if it's tough, you can still make it.
Got you.
Yeah,
got you.
You can still make it.
Thank you so much for such an inspiration and motivation, man.
All right,
Great
thank you
chatting
so
to
much.
Where can we go to get a copy of this book?
Well, you will have to contact me.
Okay. How are you reachable?
All right. Via WhatsApp, you can get me on 068 085 5073. And then on Amazon store, you can also get it.
Okay.
So the ebook is available, an able book. Yeah.
Right. All the best, man. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, sir.
Cool stuff. That was author Siyabulela Mokebe talking to us about his book titled Tamanna for Change.